Welcome back. Now, the Labour Department of the Employment Ministry is to be replaced with a new National Employment Resource Centre. Announcing the initiative, President John Mahama said part of the centre's role will be gathering of employment data to make the work of both job seekers and employers easier. The announcement also comes on the back of concerns by the Trades Union Congress. The Employment Ministry will be unable to implement the new National Employment Policy.
Let me assure my comrade, the Secretary General of the TUC, and all my comrades of organized labor that your ministry, the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, is a key ministry in my cabinet and is no way considered Siberian. I have assigned key tasks to this ministry, including the restructuring and reform of the Labor Department. And I was just noting to the minister that even the name puts you off, Labor Department. And so under this restructuring and reform, we intend to create a new National Employment Resource Center. That sounds more attractive and inviting, doesn't it? For you young people, if you had to go to a Labor Department or a National Employment Resource Center, which would you readily go to? Fantastic. This new center will enable the creation of a national employment and skills database from which employers can freely recruit. And our intention is not only to create a database, the database will have all young people who have registered, who are looking for jobs, their qualifications, and the kind of jobs they want. And employers who employ from that database will be given an incentive for being able to, for employing from that database.
Some students of the University of Ghana are accusing government of being biased towards the recently elected SRC president, Ohene Davis-Fobi. Well, he emerged winner of the election, which was also contested by Megdad Mohammed, whose supporters say the poll was rigged. The Bureau of National Investigations is presently looking into the claims of fraud. But the students at a news conference at the Legon campus here in Accra said government is using state agencies to overturn the results.
The students, mostly supporters of Ohene Davis, were clad in red and black attire and armbands to demonstrate their displeasure at the turn of events after the declaration of the results. They sang and chanted through the news conference. They are calling for the release of Stephen Forson, the software developer whose software was used for the electronic voting. The students say they're unhappy Mr. Forson has been picked up by the Bureau of National Intelligence for his alleged involvement in the rigging of the just-ended elections. They also alleged that some students were physically assaulted prior to this year's election. Kwame Apenti is the convener of the group.
A week early to this event, a certain gentleman, also not a student of the University of Ghana, but working as a personal assistant to a deputy minister, came to campus with the nation's security apparatus in order to cause the arrest of students who he believed were members of Ohene Davis-Fobi. That is the winner of the elections, his team. Is it because when one finds himself in the corridors of power, state powers and resources are arrogated to individuals? To the extent that national service personnel also show where power lies.
Now, Deputy Health Minister Victor Bampo has revealed government will go for a bailout to settle debts owed by the National Health Insurance Authority, the NHIS. Mr. Bampo, who was speaking at a dialogue of health practitioners on how to sustain the scheme, also mentioned the NHIS will be redesigned in order to reduce or possibly eliminate errors. Hanodame was at the function and now reports.
The National Health Insurance Scheme, since its introduction in 2003, has been bedeviled with numerous challenges. Payment of claims was the major one, but that has been addressed with the electronic claims system. Other challenges confronting the authority include size of package given to beneficiaries, adjustment of premium, and exception policy. All these, the authority admits, has affected its smooth operations. Discussing how to sustain the scheme for the future, Vice President of the Society of Private Medical and Dental Practitioners, Dr. Isaac Morrison, reiterated the need for a co-payment system.
I am for that in the sense that it may help address some of the health seeking behaviors of some clients who just visit facilities, or we call it shopping around. But we need to discuss it dispassionately to know exactly which form will suit us, because I'm not oblivious of the fact that we have stuck poor people in this country.
This suggestion was rejected by United Health Coverage Ghana's representative.
For anybody to suggest co-payment as a solution to this problem, it's a no, because it will mean that we are going back to the cash and carry that we have abolished. So co-payment is not up for discussion, it's not an option, it's a lazy way of trying to address the problem.
Former Health Minister Dr. Richard Anani said debts owed by the authority may never be paid unless his suggestion of a 1% VAT to be allocated to the NHIS is implemented.
Hence, we thought the best way to do it and the most sustainable way was the 1% out of the national health, the VAT. We think it's a very progressive tax. We don't even have the poor people in the villages having to pay VAT because they don't really buy vegetable items. So it's still on those of us who are in the big cities who have to be buying things which are vegetable. So we think that is a very progressive way of getting funding.
Member of the National Development Planning Commission and former government statistician Grace Bediako blamed the current situation on the unavailability of identity cards and accurate estimation of Ghana's population. Deputy Health Minister Victor Bampo outlined some interventions by government.
In fact, government has started doing things urgent. Number one is to do what you call the bailout. So, find money to rapidly reduce the pressure that the providers are feeling, and this is something that is going on already. Then the second prong of our strategy is then to look at the whole scheme and to try and do some redesign. How we do it is what we need to interrogate a bit more and to have some discussion about.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer at the NHIS, Sylvester Mensah, says a committee has been set up to review the operations of the scheme.
The authority has put in place a committee. We will be widening this committee to look into this particular aspect, which is more of a medium to long-term solution. The immediate solution, as the minister has indicated, is a bailout to clear the arrears and also to fashion out how to hold the system until we are able to put in place a firm, restructured health insurance consistent with our ability to pay, with a clear definition or redefinition of what we are purchasing and for whom, in terms of benefit package rationalization, in terms of review of exemption regime, and a host of others.
So, it is obvious the NHIS needs help to remain operational, and the earlier these suggestions are implemented, the better for the millions of Ghanaians whose only hope of getting access to healthcare is the NHIS system. Hannah Odame for Joy News.
Inflation for March 2015 has gone up marginally to 16.6% from the February figure of 16.5%. The Ghana Statistical Service attributes the increment to high inflation in utility, housing, gas, and other fuels triggered by the cedi's depreciation and the fall in crude prices.
The prices of goods and services in the month of March went up by 0.1 percentage points compared to that of February this year. Housing, utility, gas and other fuels recorded a high of 26.2% following the depreciation of the cedi and crude price slump. The Statistical Service explains this accounted for the marginal increment in the inflation rate.
Not only depreciation of the cedi, there are other factors. We have, for example, the issue of oil prices and so on. Even though people are expecting oil prices to be lower, we don't have it as it still remain high, and we have the percentage change in that area also impacting on inflation, because people buy petroleum products, they buy fuel, they buy gas, they buy all the other items of petroleum. We have electricity, we have water, and we have housing. all these have inflation rates that are higher than the average. So these are all contributing. We have transport, we have recreation, we have education, we have clothing, and we have furnishing and household equipment and routine maintenance. These are all recording changes or higher changes in their general price levels.
The currency depreciation also accounted for a high year-on-year inflation for imported items at 21.3%, about 1.5 times higher than the rate for locally produced items at 14.9%.